Hi, guys. Welcome to the Gemini full moon astrology, and we're going to do a little tarot also with this full moon. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm actually taping this on America's Thanksgiving Day. I know other people from other countries watch these videos, so a nod to that. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you in America who celebrate that. I myself am just grateful for this day. I think it doesn't really represent a happy time for my ancestors because the story is so like skewed and it's just not a happy story that everybody wants to think it is. But I do have gratitude for this day, and I am grateful for this day in many ways because the world kind of stops for a minute and they pause and they reflect on what they do have. And there's a lot of people in the world that don't have a lot right now, and it's getting harder and harder. It's getting worse and worse. I am working closely with charities right now for ourselves and for other people, just to kind of see what's needed. And the emergency funds for charities that they would normally get during the holidays are not available this year. And the reason why is because the money went somewhere else, and it did not go towards anything in this country, in the United States. So there's people are struggling more than ever. Yeah, food prices are going down a little bit, thank God. Gas prices went down a little bit for the holidays. And I think that there's a recovery process that's going to be happening for everybody, but I know everybody's struggling right now. So if there's any possible way that you are able to give just a little bit, it'll help. Me, I'm coming up on some surgeries. I have to get foot surgery, and I also have to get a whole bunch of mouth surgery done. And I'm not going to be able to work as much during that time, which means I won't be able to do personal readings. So I do have a 40% off flash sale right now. I'd like to do as many personal readings as I can before I have to have a surgery. And I think that that's going to be coming in the new year. So all of my 6-month readings, my astrology readings, my tarot readings, everything 40% off using the code FLASH40 on my website. And my website is in the description box below this video. Lovescience1.com, and then book a session with Betsy on that front page. But also donations really help our foundation. The Wild Love Paradise Foundation helps me when I'm not able to work because of my illness or because of surgeries that I have to have or because of any kind of medical condition. The Wild Love Paradise Foundation helps me, and it helps other vulnerable people. And it's direct, and it's not like the fees and stuff are way better than a GoFundMe when it comes to the recipients. So they don't have to worry about any of that. And we've had a lot of requests for help from other people. And if I'm being honest, we're always in need as well. Like I saw 6 doctors in the last month. Like it's a full-time job. My illness is a full-time job. So we appreciate anything that you can give. If you can share off our foundation, the Wild Love Paradise Foundation, that information is also in the description box. And just thank you for receiving that and taking it with you. And yes, I always get a little nervous when I'm like advocating for the foundations, and just it's like we should all feel a little less shame in asking for help. Seriously, we should all feel a little less shame in asking for help. And I am learning that every single day. And I'm in a very vulnerable place in my life. And I am working with an attorney to get my disability, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take me having to pay an attorney after I even get my disability. Like, it's like, how is that fair? So any help I can get from the community is always appreciated and always grateful. And the holidays are really hard right now because of our financials are just kind of poo-poo. So anyway, thank you for letting me. And I would just love to do readings for you as well. And my gift for you, I have readings as low as $50 with that 40%. I think it's like $54 is my lowest reading right now. So with that 40% off. So, I want to bless you all as well. This Gemini full moon is very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. I kind of feel like because we have Mars square Saturn to kind of today and tomorrow, and I'm already sort of feeling that like build up. We had the Sun square Saturn yesterday, and the Sun is now moving on from that. And during the Gemini full moon, we will still kind of see, Mars is still combust the Sun. After we had the Cazimi, Mars moves pretty slowly away from the Sun for a little while. But he's moving away, but he's still combust at that 2 degrees towards the Sun. And I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But we have Mars square Saturn tomorrow on Friday. And then that in itself is, one of those, Mars is a malefic power play energy, and Saturn is a malefic power play energy, and the square is the challenge. And so I feel like we had some the really weird bombing on the bridge in New York yesterday, in Niagara Falls area, and it's it's just like I feel like there's going to be something that's going to happen that will cause protests or something like that. And God willing, I hope that is, not the case, but it feels like that kind of energy. The Gemini full moon feels like standing up for yourself and not, and kind of being misunderstood in the process of doing that. And with this Mars square Saturn, there's a lot of anger happening on Black Friday. I am sorry if you guys have planned to go out on Black Friday and astrologer has not told you to not do it. Please do not. I hope you're watching this video at 6 a.m. your time on Black Friday and your intuition was telling you not to go and you don't go. I hope so. I don't know. I feel like Mars square Saturn on a Black Friday is probably not the best idea to go try and fight the crowds because people will be aggressive. And it's Mars in Sagittarius, and it's Pisces in Saturn, or Pisces in Saturn in Pisces, for Pete's sake. And they're both Jupiterian energies. And so it's very big and it's very indulgent, and it's very what I want is what I want is what I want, right? What I want is what I want, what I want. And that can be the dark side of a Jupiterian energy, right? Is like not being able to control those boundaries of overindulgence or overextending or overdoing. I'm very Jupiter. I'm Sagittarius moon. And that Sagittarius moon makes me really dramatic. I think that's the fire. But it feels sort of like we're moving from the explosion of the volcano or the active volcano happening, and now we have the lava coming, and now we have everything is sort of like falling down. That's sort of what it feels like. It just feels like it's just active lava, or it feels like just the release of it. And that can sometimes be really loud and angry, and and so I'm kind of hoping that the grateful part of Thanksgiving really helps everybody gets through this. But that Mars square Saturn on Black Friday is going to be a little bit frightening. And I do think that there's something that's going to happen, something strange and weird. I hope that it's not the case, but may I be wrong that anything terrible happens. But this full moon, let's take a look at it. We keep changing the things on the bottom of the Zoom screen for me to share. Okay, so here we have it. Here we have it. So we have our full moon, 4 degrees, 51 seconds, Gemini, opposite the sun. So that's what a full moon is. For those of you that are new to astrology, a full moon is when the moon is exact opposite the sun. It happens every month, sometimes twice a month. And that's when we call it a once in a blue moon, when it's twice a month. But you can see here that Mars is still right there next to the sun. And so we're still feeling that combust. And now that combust is in Sagittarius. Mars moves into Sagittarius tomorrow, and instantly, Mars moves into Sagittarius on the 24th, tomorrow, right? And on Friday, and instantly will square Saturn. And we'll square Saturn through Friday and Saturday, to be quite honest. And so while it's combust in Sagittarius, that Mars energy is very know-it-all, right? But it's also freedom, right? It wants the truth. It wants the truth. It wants the truth. It wants freedom. It wants the truth. Sometimes the truth is very skewed, because we have my truth and we have their truth, and then we have the universal truth that people still argue about. And so what are we really arguing about, right? That's really a good question that's going to happen during this Gemini full moon. What is it that we're really arguing about? What is it that we're really what is the point that we're trying to prove to others? What is it that we're trying to prove? What is it that we're trying to prove? Because there's nothing, right? And people aren't really feeling so good about themselves right now. We've got Venus so close to the South Node. And this South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries are aspecting Mercury. Mercury is trine the North Node, and Mercury is sextile the South Node. And it's literally exact during the full moon. It's, just a few degrees, Mercury's just a few degrees past exact. And again, Mercury in Sagittarius, right? It's the bigger idea. It's the bigger idea. It's the really, Mercury in Sagittarius just wants people to see a different perspective so badly. Right. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of communication. I feel like there's, Sagittarius is associated with the 9th house. It could have to do with travel also, but there's some kind of communication or some kind of travel that's happening during this time. And, with the people so aggressive still, and not really feeling very good about themselves, I feel like something very important people feel like things need to be said. People feel like they need to communicate how they feel about things and stand up for themselves. Having the North Node in Aries has been very much about people standing up for themselves. And even Chiron, Chiron's going direct in December, and we'll start getting closer to the North Node as well in February. I think it's February, the whole month of February almost. I think it's the entire month of February. Chiron will be, and the North Node will be at 16 degrees conjunct the entire month of February. So a really healing time is coming. And I just feel like people have things to say. Mercury is also square Neptune, retrograde, almost exact. And with Neptune retrograde, the veil has, the fog has lifted, right? We're seeing the reality of things. And Neptune will be turning direct, direct on the 6th of December. Sorry, the 6th of December. So there's this we have to be willing to see things for what they are. You know, there's and I feel like a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of misunderstandings that are going to be happening under this full moon. I don't want anybody to get into any arguments. I don't want anybody to get into any kind of dangerous situations or anything like that. It just doesn't feel like a really great energy for this full moon. There's a lot of malefics on weird, just weird stuff, you guys, you know. And people are just they're just not well right now. People just are not feeling so hot about the world. And like, I really am trying to like wake up every single morning and just be my most optimistic self and like put that out there and do things like that. And I just think that the weight of things, the weight of the world, the weight of the stuff that's going on. So, you know, really, this is about letting go. This is about releasing things and really letting go. And where are you restricting yourself? You know, we can talk about what it's going to look like on a large scale for the entire world, or for, you know, in mundane. I do think that something it may happen leading up to this full moon. I do think that something quite possibly may happen. What that is, I don't know. I don't look into mundane astrology for a reason. I'm not here to predict that kind of stuff. What I do know is looking in our own personal lives is really what the focus needs to be sometimes. And like, I had some very big wake up calls during Scorpio season. And now that it's Sagittarius season and I have seen the light, I have seen the light on some, let me tell you, I've seen the light on some things. And I'm grateful for it. It kind of sucks, but I'm grateful for it at the same time. And, you know, I just am moving into Sagittarius season with an attitude of like, yes, things are kind of difficult right now, but that's never stopped me before in the past. Never stopped me from being able to do what I love and do what I do best. And, you know, that's help guide people through this really weird time in our lives, right? One of the really cool things I wanted to tell you guys, if you're not part of our Patreon yet, would love for you guys to be a part of the Patreon. I am going to start doing weekly readings, weekly astrology readings on Patreon. And another announcement is that this channel will be returning back to the Fearless Intuition channel on December 1st. And so, you know, that's kind of one of those, the Mars Cazimi, the Scorpio Mars Cazimi thing. That was one of my Mars Cazimi that stories. That's one of them. There are a couple of them, but that's one of them, is that I kept getting the nudge that this is to be the Fearless Intuition channel. That doesn't mean Love and Science is going anywhere. You know, we built Love and Science for a reason. And so Love and Science is going to get its own channel and its own energy. And we're really grateful for the people that stuck around through that change and through us kind of learning some new things about that too. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's another big thing is, you know, and I feel like this Gemini full moon, I bring that up because whatever that Mars Cazimi and the Scorpio new moon, whatever it was that was kind of revealed to you during that time, whatever new adventure it is that you're embarking on, this is probably going to be the thing that really wipes stuff out of your way, right? Like, you know, so wherever the Gemini full moon is happening, wherever Gemini is in your natal chart and wherever that's happening, there's going to be a theme probably of you having to stand up for yourself about something, or you having to, you know, proclaim, use your words, but having to use emotional maturity at the same time. Life isn't easy. Things aren't easy. Everybody has it hard. It's not, you know, I wish that I could say that it was just me that was having a hard time. I wish that it was only me. I wish that I could take that on and that it was only me. And it's not. And people are saying things and they're getting louder and getting louder. And I do feel like this Gemini full moon is giving us an opportunity to show us where like the buck stops here, right? Like I can no longer be in this belief system. I can no longer live this kind of belief system. I can no longer allow myself to lie to myself anymore about things. I feel like that Mercury square Neptune, I feel like this Mercury square Neptune is really about where we've been lying to our own selves, you know, and not so much, you know, because in so many ways, the South Node, the past, wants to remind us of who we are so that we can speak our truth, so that we can be willing to do that. And so I do feel like a Sagittarius, you know, Mercury square a Pisces Neptune is really about like, you got to look at your own truth. And sometimes that's hard to look at. Sometimes it's hard for us to be super honest with ourselves on that truth and what it means. And you know what it is that we've been hiding for, right? What are we afraid of? What are we afraid of? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Because I've thought about that myself. That's myself what I'm afraid of. And I'm got a lot of fears. And it has everything to do with my past. And so that's where you work through it and you get honest with yourself about what it is. And you get radical about it, which is interesting because that's so. I want to talk about the Sabian symbol before we get into the cards, reading the cards. The Sabian symbol for this full moon would be 5 degrees Gemini, because we would go up a degree. The Sabian symbol is an old way of prophesizing what particular degrees with their signs meant. And so the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a radical magazine. And so you think about the radical magazines of the past. Playboy was a radical magazine of the past. I think that even Life would be considered a radical magazine for a long time. But yeah, just thinking about like those people that did things that were not accepted in society, or said things that were not accepted in society, and we look at them today and it's like, had they not had that boldness and given themselves that opportunity to use their voice and to stand up for themselves and to say, you know, this is who I am, had they not done that, you know, they wouldn't be a part of that history for us either. And they wouldn't have gone as far as they did, right? Like Hugh Hefner didn't care what anybody thought about him. Didn't care. Just a man that did not care what anybody thought about him, right? And so there are people these days that find pleasure in offending others when it comes to their own belief systems, when it comes to the way that they live their life, you know, whatever. Like there are people that just enjoy being rude and enjoy, you know, poking at people and getting their goat and making them all upset. And I challenge you to not let people do that to you. And to not let the world do that to you too. There's absolutely every reason to be upset. I was looking for my chapstick, it fell off. I don't know what happened to it. But there's absolutely every reason to be upset about things. I get it. But man, I'm just not ready to let the world take me down. You know, I'm not ready for humanity to take me down at all. Thanks for hanging out with me this far. If you're still hanging out with me, I also want to mention that I do have a shamanic drum circle that I'm having for Sunday afternoon. It's going to be in the afternoon because I have some lovely friends who are across the pond that I wanted to give them an opportunity, and it wasn't like midnight their time. So it'll be Sunday afternoon at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. So it's 2 p.m. Eastern. That'll be 11 a.m. Pacific Time. It's a $5 donation that I'm asking to be a part of that shamanic drum circle. But we're also going to be doing Reiki and just kind of setting the energy and clearing space for the holidays, you know, and just for this energy that's coming up with the full moon and just allowing ourselves to kind of get centered. So that information is also in the description box. Would love to have you guys be a part of that as well. Let's see what the surrender card is for this Gemini full moon. All right, we've got 2 surrender cards. We have surrender to trust. Trust yourself and your decisions. Don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions about what you do. Take action and be confident that you have chosen the right path. That's exactly what I was talking about with the Sabian symbol in a big way. So, you know, that Radical magazine, like really just trust yourself on the path that you're on right now and what you're supposed to be doing. And, you know, after that Mars Kazemi, we're going to have a time of doubting ourselves until Mars sextiles the sun when it's in Leo next year. And we're going to be really doubting ourselves, or when Mars is in Leo next, you know, in the one of them is in Leo. I don't remember. The sun is either in Leo. I think it's, I don't remember. Anyway, so but I think it is Leo season that it happened. So I think it's, yeah. But it's a time to doubt. Like, are you really going to doubt yourself, or are you going to like be able to help yourself push forward? And the other one was surrender to divine timing. Sometimes divine timing may differ from your ego's timing. If a goal isn't manifesting fast enough, according to your ego, be patient and trust the universal flow. Surrender to divine timing. I've had a hard time surrendering to divine timing lately because I have been overthinking everything so much. So really being able to trust that the energy is holding you and keeping you safe and keeping you warm during this time. It's hard. Again, it's really hard when things are not easy in the world. It's really hard to surrender to stuff. So here we go. Let's see what is going on with the full moon for all of us. Gemini full moon. The feminine is coming in really strong. So I feel like it's super intuitive time. We have the Knight of Cups. We have the Queen of Wands. We have the Queen of Cups. And we have the Knight of Pentacles. So I feel like I have these 2 knights flanking these 2 feminine energies for this full moon. And I have the Queen of Wands, feminine energy that is just very confident in her approach of things. And she just knows what she wants. And she always goes for what she wants. And the Queen of Wands is not afraid to burn shit down if it's not serving her. She's just not afraid to do it. And then we have the Queen of Cups, who's extremely intuitive. She listens to her gut feeling. She knows that what's going on inside of her is exactly what she needs to be paying attention to. And so both of these ladies, I feel like, because with the Knight of Cups coming towards the Queen of Wands, and the Knight of Pentacles is facing the Queen of Cups. So that's, so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. So this feels very much like an opportunity to be open to receive. And then to be patient as you're being open to be receptive, right? You have these intuitive nudges and you have this confident feeling that's going on. And I feel like that with the Knight of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles, that there are these these messages or these opportunities or these, you know, just these things very soft and ease, right? It feels like ease, right? It just feels like there's some kind of ease that's coming towards the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Cups. And it's taking its time, right? The Knight of Pentacles, but the Knight of Pentacles is like, the Knight of Pentacles is never someone that rushes anything. The Knight of Cups is more like the knight in shining armor that's going to kind of rush in and take, you know, but the Knight of Pentacles takes his time and eases his way in. And I feel like when we recognize that patience, right, that part of patience and acceptance, that things take time to come to fruition, when we allow ourselves to accept that, it just, it's so much easier, right? We're not suffering through anything. That Knight of Pentacles is very much about divine timing. So clarifying, for some of you, I feel like for some of you, you're really waiting. You're receiving like messages for from someone, or you're waiting for someone to show up. And I feel like there's some kind of reunion, or I feel like there's some kind of like celebration that happens. Bottom of the deck, we have the Two of Swords. I think that this is really about intuitively knowing that you're on the right path now, and that you cannot control the pace at this point. That you know things are coming into fruition and you cannot control the pace. I feel like with the Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck is that I do not want you to ignore the decisions that need to be made. I don't want you to ignore the decisions that need to be made, and I don't want you to ignore the parts of this that you have to take care of, the things that you have to do to keep the energy alive and to keep things moving forward, right? Like, you know, I don't want you to just kind of be like, I'm really, I mean, it's fair if you're exhausted and you just need a break from things. I get that. But to complete, because the Two of Swords sometimes feels like procrastination to me, because you're not paying attention. You don't want to see it. You don't want to make those decisions. You don't want to make those phone calls. You don't want to connect with those people. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. Right? That's what that feels like. I have the King of Swords with the Knight of Cups. The King of Swords has big ideas. He's somebody who has a lot of really big ideas. And I feel like you're sort of being presented with these big ideas from the King of Swords. And I feel like he has this plan, a vision. It feels like a vision. And, you know, for those of you that is true for, trust it. I feel like this is a very trustworthy person. I feel like the vision is coming from, you know, the masculine right brain, the right side, right? That the right side of the brain. Trust the intuitive nudges of the guy that has the big ideas. And the Six of Wands with the Queen of Wands, when we embody that feminine energy where we know that we can do it, right? Like the Queen of Wands is always going to show up for herself. That's why she knows that she can do it, right? The reason why we are successful in manifesting things, and the reason why we are successful in the creation of our lives, is because we show up for ourselves. And when it's hard to show up for ourselves, it can be right. It's procrastination, is the not showing up, which is interesting. I feel like that's a cycle that's ending, that procrastination cycle. But this feels very much like, you know, you have to recognize who you are too. You have to be willing to recognize everybody else can see who you are until they're blue in the face. But if you can't recognize who you are, how is that How is that helpful? Because you're not going to do anything about it, right? Listen to your gut right now. Listen to your gut and listen to both of the intuitive nudges. You know, the red flags are going to show up here too. The red flags may not necessarily show in your gut, they may show in your mind. The star on the Queen of Cups. For some of you, you're dealing with an Aquarius energy, and I feel like that Aquarius energy is extremely supportive right now. Extremely supportive. And you know, and I feel like, you know, there's a lot of things. This to me feels like there might be some signs that some of you are getting, and I want you to believe them. You know, we talk a lot about not trusting every single sign that you see, and I'm, you know, I wouldn't say like every single thing you see that you think that there's something, you know, about it. Like don't bog your mind with like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Don't do that to yourself. What I mean by this, though, is there are some very specific things that we are seeing right now. And I feel like, you know, the veil is very thin. I know that my eyes have seen the light in some ways very clearly. And it's going to continue to do that, right? And a lot of times it takes bad things happening in the world for us to see the true colors of people when it's hidden. So, right? So trust that you're on the path, right? The star is like our you know, the direction our soul wants to go. It's the wish card. And I feel like your intuitive wishes right now are something that's a really big thing for a lot of people, is that you're like, I just want things to be different, or I just want this, or I just want that. And it's coming, right? You cannot control. We have the Emperor and the Knight of Pentacles. Now, this could be Aries energy that's taken its sweet time to come to you. But I feel like what this energy is really about taking your time and not trying to control how fast that Knight of Pentacles is going, and letting things be built one thing at a time, right? During this time frame. So, Two of Swords at the bottom of the deck, the World at the bottom of the deck, and the Fool. Oh, wow. And some of these endings, or some of these cycles that are ending and subsequent new beginnings that are happening, are going to be hard, right? Heartbreaking. Three of Swords and the Three of Wands. Some of us are going to have to make decisions to leave where we are, or move on, or whatever it is. That could be a job, it could be a person, it could be a situation, whatever it is. But you can't, you know, sitting here blindfolded and defensive is not going to help you to move on and end that cycle. Like, this is literally like an ending and subsequent new beginning. And in order to have faith to start new cycles, ending the old cycles is imperative. Okay? I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. You know, thanks for the support all these years, and the new support if you're new to the channel. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate it, all the support. Bye, guys.